Hello, my friends. This is Esther Goldstein, and I'm coming on to share with you the business strategy that's been really helpful to me as a therapist in creating a course, in creating a training, and that's allowed me to not just create something, but has allowed it to sustain and grow for many, many years. So I'm going to show you a format because I would love to offer you this approach in creating your course, in creating your offering, in expanding your impact in your zone of genius, in your area that you're really passionate about. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you in just a moment. And I want you to think about for a moment, what are the gaps that you're facing right now? Either you already have a course or you're thinking about creating one or a workshop or a training. And often we hit against some kind of a missing skill or road bump or a blockage along the way. And when we get clear, then we actually know exactly what we need to do to be able to move through it. So I'm going to be sharing with you my screen and show you my exact format. Okay, so right here, I have a slide that says Business Lab and Sustainable Growth. One of the things that I work with therapists on is helping them create an additional offer, helping them create a course, a training, a program that isn't just created once, but has sustainable growth capacities. And I want to show you what I actually do. I want you to take out a paper and a pen, and I want you to draw this triangle. What we're going to look at is we're going to identify the 3 factors that are present in your business, in your idea, in your course that you've created or are thinking about creating. So just draw 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to look at the elements that are necessary for a successful, ethical, and impactful course and program. Okay. So what I want you to look at is this. Okay. I have this broken down into 3 segments. And in each of the segments, there's 2 bullet points. Okay. So on the right, there's vision, mindset, and energy. One of the things that we know as therapists is that we can only go as far as where our mind has clarity about, right? If you don't have a vision about where you're going or why you're going there, if your mind is not clear about, I can do this, then your energy is not going to be aligned, right? So one of the most important things that I would ask you is your vision clear? What's your why? One of the things that we talk about in the Business Lab, which is our program for therapists who are creating courses or want to streamline their course or their offering, their signature offer, is getting really clear on your vision. Because when you're clear on your vision, when you know your why, then the what and the how are going to follow. So your vision, right? What are your values? Mindset is, do you have the right beliefs about yourself? Do you have the right, is your head in the game? And if not, do you have the right support and do you have the right network and the right guidance to help you move through mindset blockages or fears? And energy is, we know all of this as therapists, when our clients are feeling depleted, they don't have energy, when they have anxiety, trauma, depression, navigating lack of trust, their energy goes really low down. And so we want to look at like, do you have the energy to create? And do you have the energy to sustain, right? Energy is basically the manpower, the passion. And we know as therapists that energy is actually more tangible than anything else. People are going to be drawn to you for your product and what you offer, but they're just as much drawn to you for your energy, how they feel around you, what you help them believe is possible about themselves or their lives in working with you. So one is vision, mindset, and energy. I want you to think about how clear are you in your vision, mindset, and energy. The next thing is a clear offer. When you're creating something, you need to be clear on what your offer is, right? You could say, I run a program for people who are anxious, or you can say, I run a 12-week program for moms who are anxious and overwhelmed and learning tools to better regulate their emotions so they could improve their lives, right? But what you want to do is you want to be really clear in your offer of how many weeks, what's the price point, what's the pain that they're coming in with, what's the transformation that you're providing. So you want to make sure that your offer is really, really clear. It could take you some time to figure it out, but the clearer an offer, the more people are going to buy. You want to make sure that when people, one of the things we always learn about is people are never running towards a solution. People are running away from a problem. So what problem are you offering a solution to? And you want it to be clear. People want simplicity. They want to know, like, do you have a simple way to help me with whatever my problem or struggle is? And you do, right? It's just a matter of, is your offer clear? Are you packaging it clearly? It doesn't mean you have to take away people's anxiety. It doesn't mean you have to rebuild people's marriages overnight, but it does mean that something about your offer is going to give them knowledge, tools, wisdom, support, insight, something that really provides a shift. On the left-hand side, what's really important is, where are you in terms of your presence? Do you have a presence online or in person or both. You need to have a presence. People need to know you, right? It goes like this. People need to know you. People need to like you. They trust you, and then they'll buy from you. Okay. So you need to have a presence, because I always say, like, when people buy or they invest in something, they first buy into you and then they buy into your product. So you need to have a presence. Now, if you're on here, you already have a presence, right? Which means you have a network, you have a community, either online or in person, but you've already built a professional identity. You've been in the field for a while. People who work with me in my business lab are all pretty experienced therapists, have very advanced training, have fully booked practices, and are looking to expand and make an additional offer to make more impact. So is your presence clear online or in person? Do people know about you? And the next is magnetic messaging. Magnetic messaging is that the person who you want to work with, when they read your information, they feel like you're talking directly to them, right? So for example, I don't just say, oh, I'm running a trauma training for therapists. I say, like, I run a training for therapists who have all the skills, are already stellar at building therapeutic relationships, but are looking to develop more nuance and to give their clients deeper relief. Now, in my messaging, you'll see that the messages I talk to is I'm talking directly to the therapist who's invested time, energy, and money in post-grad trainings. They've gotten a lot of credentials, but they're looking for much more nuanced support. They want to be part of a community, and they want expert consultation to gain mastery of the skills they have. So your messaging is, you might say something, but the difference between the information out there that people are drawn to and they come to, and it's not just about having people come to you, it's about having people come to you who then have an amazing experience with you, and they give you glowing reviews, so you know you're doing great work, because we obviously will have integrity. We want to make sure we're doing great work, and they send people to you. So is your messaging magnetic, where it pulls the right people in? And if not, there's a specific strategy to getting very clear on making sure that your messaging is right. You know, there was a time where I had a lot of traffic to my website, on my social media. People think it's always about traffic. Some of it is about traffic and having presence, right? Or connections or a presence. But the second piece is your messaging. And I had to tweak my messaging just 1%. Some of what I was communicating wasn't clear for my audience. They were confused. And tweaking it just 1% really shifted people. And I got so many more people to sign up. So you really want to make sure that your messaging is really clear. Okay. The next thing is systems. Systems is really the money maker. Systems is what allows you to allow your program to run even when you're like sleeping. So systems are, we have a program in our business lab where literally when people want to book a call, they're connected to my Calendly. When I run a webinar, there's a way that we get people's emails. They get a confirmation, right, that they are signed up. There's a video, and then they get automated emails. My systems are also, when people join a program, they automatically get the DocuSign, which is like the legal agreement. They process their payment, and they automatically get access to my online programs. Systems are basically the back end. It's almost like the engine behind your business. This is the way that you're not going to be glued to your computer 24/7. Are your systems in place? Do you have an email program? Do you have a calendar set up? Do you have your webinar set up? Do you have, when a client joins, that like things are automated, so you literally click one button and everything's working? And if not, we want to set up your systems and automations. Okay. Any successful business, once you grow and you really want to create something that's sustainable, right? Not just you're creating it, has systems. The next thing that's really important, and honestly, if you look at Harvard Business Review, or anyone in the business world, you look at relationship building. Relationships are really the most important thing. Relationships of your current clients, people who know you, who you're working with because you want them to be absolutely thrilled. It's relationships with future people. It's relationships with people in your community. People buy from people that they like and they trust. So investing in relationships is important. So how are you tending to those relationships in real life and obviously online, but especially those people that you're working with? And the last is launching and scaling. Launching and scaling mean, do you have a plan for launch? Do you say, okay, so this is my date. I'm basically going to be getting this many people interested. I'm going to be starting my beta launch, which is usually the first launch. I'm going to do it. It's going to be this many weeks. I'm going to get feedback. And launching is also making sure that you look at feedback as feedback and not failure. There's no such thing as failure. There is something called feedback. So can you be open to feedback? Can people feel trusting that you're open to hearing the feedback so you can refine? And then can you scale it? Scaling, it means that, can you then create a more refined version? Could you create a bigger or a longer version, or can you up the price and make it more sustainable? Scaling could also mean, even if you want to keep the price point the same, scaling means that you could sustain it, that you could grow it. It's not just like a one-time thing that then you burn out after you run it. So I want you to look at these three lines, right? The right is really like this mindset, getting clear about what you're offering. The second one here on the left is your presence and your systems. And the bottom one is relationships, launching, and scaling. Okay. Now, I want to just tell you a little bit about myself, right? For those of you who might or might not know me, my name is Esther Goldstein. I'm an anxiety and trauma specialist. I own a group practice. This is actually one of the offices. And I run a program, a trauma therapist training program that's approved by the Board of Education for CEUs and a certificate that's run for the past few years. And I've certified over 180 therapists. And right now we actually have a cohort that's full, people around the world, Iceland, Germany, Canada, Spain, all over, who come together and learn in this community where they have a 6-month training program. There's live consultations, a library, and they get CEUs in a certificate program. I'm sharing this with you because as a therapist, I wanted to make more impact, but I made a lot of mistakes along the way. For example, right here, you'll see one of the months on my website, I hit 88,000 followers, 88,000 hits. People watched my blogs, they read my blogs. And so I had a lot of traffic, but it took me time to figure out, okay, traffic is amazing. I had people all around the world reaching out to me, right? Being interested in learning from me. But I had to learn how to make an offer that was really crystal clear that then got the right kind of people to join my program. I will tell you that one of my passion points has been writing blogs. I write from my heart. People are drawn to authenticity and real passion. And I do write from my heart, which is probably why I've had so much traffic, which is why people have reached out. And what I'm sharing is like, when you do what you love, when you're creating a course or an offering that lights you up, people will feel it. And it's not just about making impact for people. You will feel so fulfilled. Okay. Here, I'm just showing you that some of the traffic that I've done. My method was writing. My method has been right now, I focus much more on like LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I do webinars and master classes because I found that I like teaching live as well as doing some of my writings. And there was a year that I basically made 184,000 just from courses alone. And I always say to people, you could make 20,000 from a course, you can make $500,000 from a course. It's really up to you. For me, it was that I have a group practice that hit close to 7 figures. And I was looking at adding a secondary form of impact, taking my knowledge, and I had all this wisdom, all this training. I'm an EMDR therapist. I wrote a book with New Harbinger. I'm a sensory motor therapist, 3 levels, IFS. And I have in my group practice these team meetings that I would run. And I realized that people wanted more of that community, more of that training. And so as people in the community were joining my team meeting at my group practice, I realized, okay, let me create all this knowledge, make it into a package and sell it and be able to make more impact and also connect with people beyond the New York area. And that's what I did. So if I could just inspire you, if you're looking to add an additional stream of impact, for me, I wanted to manage my schedule better so I could be a more present mom, cut the hours of my clinical hours. So I see my client hours, I oversee my staff, but then I also have a course. And that allowed me to then not take on a much bigger caseload because I didn't want to burn out. And I did want to make impact and teach my areas of expertise. Here's just some snippets of feedback from people who've worked with me. Saskia said Esther has a wealth of knowledge and expertise. She's been in my training program right now. I really appreciate her. She has a lot of training. She's EMDR, IFS trained. Here's Deborah Flicks. She wrote that she's creating the systems to become more visible. She's a psychoanalyst in New York and EMDR trained. And I'm working with her on helping her business be more visible because she works not just with clients, but also with therapists. Here's Melanie. She was in my trauma training program and then joined to work with me in the business arena. She shared, it's been a breath of fresh air to have this kind of framework as I grow. She's a therapist who then created something called the waiting room for women navigating infertility and their loved ones. And she wanted to create an additional platform. Her practice was fully booked and she wanted to create it. And here's Kim Meyer, who says, Esther helped me move my practice from autopilot and someone neglected to focus, nurtured, and clear. So we worked on with her. She's a dance therapist and a somatic therapist. We worked on getting really clear on the magnetic messaging, like I shared. And her messages right now for her ideal clients, her one-on-one clients, and her couples clients speaks directly to the clients she wants to bring in. And she learned the structures to create an additional offer in addition to her practice that she's working with. Okay. Now I want to just share with you a little bit of like what my why is and what your why probably is for your own reason, right? We spoke about vision. Here's some of my former staff. Here's New York. I felt like I was making really big impact. We have, our practice has grown, but I felt like I didn't want to franchise my practice and open a bunch of locations because it would impinge on my values as being a present mom. I did want to share trauma healing. So to make more impact, here's what I did. Right here, I show you, I got a certificate. I got approved from the Board of Education. You see right here, I'm approved for CEUs, It's a 6-month certification. People who work with me in my business lab, I teach you all about creating a course that protects your license. Because as therapists, you don't just want to create a course. We're not coaches. You want to protect your clinical license and you want to create an offering. And we need to be nuanced about how we do that. Okay, so here's something that I created. Here's me. Here's running one of the live consultation calls because we have the live components. And it's made worldwide impact, which is very deeply nourishing for me. As I get older, I'm like, okay, how can I make more impact? How could I connect with more people across the globe and connect them to each other? Okay, and then I've also, not just for my course, but as I expanded my reach and learned some of the systems, I also got invited as a speaker in some of these corporate locations, Neuberger Berman, which is a law firm, LaGuardia, I gave a corporate presentation, and I've been on this podcast, The Trauma Therapist, and many other podcasts. So when you get very clear and you package your offer in a good way and you connect with people and you lift them up and you're aligned with good ethics and integrity and you're giving real transformation, people end up landing at your doorstep or opportunities land at your doorstep. And here's just some testimonials. And I want you to look at these testimonials because I want you to believe what's possible for you in your course, in your workshop, in your signature offer. Right? So here's some of the people who took my training. Eleanor Brown, she's a brain spotting therapist, trauma therapist. She actually wrote a book. And she shares how she joined the course after hearing her colleague's testimony. It's been one of the best professional decisions I've made. She talks about how it reignites her passion. It reignited her passion. She wanted more refinement in her work. Okay, here's Aurelia taking the trauma-informed trainings. Trauma training has been transformative. Esther's passion for trauma-informed care shines through every module, making the material not just informative, but engaging. Here's Tamara Allison. She talks about how she really enjoyed following me on Instagram and then joined my program. She actually shares how it didn't just help her as a professional, but as a person. And here is Alyssa. She actually is an Emmy Award-winning former reporter with Diana Sawyer. She became a trauma therapist, and she shares how having a warm, supportive place to process tough cases is essential when you work with trauma. Esther is one of the few consultants I found who's an expert in multiple modalities, EMDR, IFS, and sensory motor. These are just a few people. And I have to say, I'm humbled to know these people. I appreciate them. I respect them. I love the work they're doing. Eleanor has free downloads on shame, and her book has been published. All of these people are doing therapy work and also are making incredible impact. And I want you to think about the kind of impact that you can make, the kind of people that you get to improve their lives, and they giving you a real sense of meaning in your work. So now I want to come back here. I want you to come back to your triangle, and I want you to rate from 1 to 5 each of these components that you have. Your vision, is your vision clear? Is your mind in the game? Do you need some support in working through black blocks of fears or worries? You know, sometimes I'll work with some clients in the business lab or one-on-one, and a lot of the session is focused on mindset, and they'll say, wait, so I just focused on mindset. We didn't even work on so much strategy, but look, I made some big shifts, or I brought so many people in, or I made so many sales, I got so many signups. And for some people, I tell them, like, your blockage is in the mindset. Once we get through the mindset stuff, you fly. So some people, it's primarily the mindset, the fears, the worries, managing their energy so they're not burning themselves out, okay? And some people are not clear in their offer. So think on a 1 to 5. Where are you at? Rate this on 1 to 5. Back here, is your presence clear? Is your messaging magnetic and clear? And do you have systems and automation set up? Just rate it on a 1 to 5. There's no right or wrong. If you realize that there's a lacking point, this is helpful because then you know what to work on, okay? And the last thing is rate on 1 to 5. How are your relationships? Your current relationships, how are they? Do you need to improve some of them? Do you want to tweak some of them? Are you asking for feedback, right? And this is for people in your course, your practice, or people that you can nurture relationships with. People will connect. I know for myself, when people invest in relationships with me, I will likely want to connect them to opportunities and help them grow. And last is, do you have a plan for launching and scaling? Do you have feedback? Do you look at sustainability? Do you take notes after when you run a course or a program to see what was useful? Do you have a plan of like, this is the amount of weeks, this is the amount of emails, this is how many people I want to sign up, this is how I'm moving people along the process, regardless of the number. Do I need 2 people to sign up? Do I need 5? Do I need 10? Right? And then reflecting and scaling, because when you create something, I always say this to people, when you create something, you're not just creating something once. You're creating a foundation that you're going to build upon. I created my trauma training, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, and every year I've tweaked it a little bit. But now it's wash, rinse, and repeat. I've tweaked it. I've refined it. Right now, we're getting approved by way more than just one approval organization. We get CAUs, APA. We've gotten a lot of the places. Once I've taken care of the paperwork, you get more approval. So you build upon a foundation. So if you're just starting to create something, Don't get dissuaded by if it looks like it's a lot of energy. You're investing in something that will give you a return on investment in your time, energy, and money. And if you already created something, refining it will allow you to make more impact. Okay, now I want to just show you these three circles. Okay, so these three circles are essentially what I say is important for every business to be sustainable and like what I call sustainable growth. Okay, here's this circle on the right, which is the vision, the energy, the clear offer. Here is presence, magnetic messaging, and your systems. And here is relationships and scaling. And I just want to show you that these three pieces, okay, I want you to assess these three pieces of your mindset, which is phase 1 and 2 in the business lab that I teach and I go over and we make sure it's crystal clear. Because if your foundation is not clear, you're going to come to strategy and then you might have people interested, but your systems aren't clear, or your vision's not clear, you get insecure and you're stuck with fear and you're going to freeze. And I don't want you freezing. We want to make sure that this is coming from a vibrant, healthy, trusting place. So we make sure this is really set up well. Then we look at strategy, right? This is your messaging. These are your systems. And the last thing is impact. Impact is the relationships that you have right now and that you will have and that you will continue to attract. One of my business consultants said to me, 90% of your clients are people that you've never met. When you're clear in your offer and you energetically put out what you are excited about creating an impact on, if it's a program for parents of children with autism, if it's for couples who are navigating infidelity repair, if it's for therapists to improve skills in sex therapy, if it's for people healing from narcissistic trauma or learning about boundaries or navigating grief, all of these are really important. And the clearer you are, then you're going to be able to have sustainable growth, because we don't just want to grow, we want it to sustain. Just like with our clients, we're not just looking to give them short-term relief. We want to give them growth and tools and skills and knowledge and insight and relational dynamics that can sustain them. So I want you to just take a moment and look at these three. And if you already created something and something feels a little wobbly, maybe you could get some support. I know in our business lab and with the therapist I work with, we help you get such rock solid support from the piece of mindset, from vision, from clarity. We walk you through a step-by-step process. From each module in my trauma lab, you get to watch videos, there's worksheets, we have live calls for 6 months, and you get a deep dive with me. You connect with my systems person. We have a whole tech and backend where we get to create a video sequence introduction for clients so they get to know you and trust you before they even meet you, right? You want your messaging, you want your content, you want any of your presence online, in person, your blogs, videos that you do, or even posts on LinkedIn. You want that to do half of the work for you, right? When you have good content, when you get on a call with someone, your content, your messaging, whatever you've done is doing the heavy lifting for you. So people are already sold when they're talking to you. You don't want to have to do all the heavy lifting to try to convince people of who you are, right? That's the point of being clear in your energy, showing up with confidence, being really clear, then having presence and messaging that people already know what you do in such a clear way so they're not confused, and systems that are working for you. I had somebody just sign up last week for my trauma training from a masterclass she watched that I have on YouTube, because I have an automation of people get a freebie. They give me their email, they get a freebie. And then once they get the freebie, like a recording of a video that I once recorded, they get added to my email list, and then my emails get sent out. And that person watched the video. It was like half an hour video. She liked what I was sharing. She found me online, saw some interesting information, and already liked me before she got on a call with me, and then decided she's in. So you want to create systems that are kind of working for you in your sleep. And it could take time to build that, but when you build it, it really works for you. Okay, so I just want to explain that, like, it's not that you're creating everything, it's wash, rinse, and repeat. Okay, and then the last is impact. If you're anything like me or the therapists I work with, this is not necessarily about income, although you will make income. It's about having a deep sense of fulfillment. It's about feeling like you are, leaving a legacy, taking your passion, your skills, and your knowledge, and really creating something that makes impact beyond your one-on-one therapy hour. I love client work. I'm not going to stop doing client work. This is not for therapists who don't love therapy. This is for therapists who love the therapy work. They are at the heartbeat of who they are is clinical work, and they have an area of expertise and passion that feels like it's a natural alignment to do this next step for growth, for impact, and really leaving a legacy. So if you are creating a business, I want you to think about any of these formats for yourself. Jot down some notes, look at where you are rocking it, where you're getting a number 5, where you might be a number 1 or 2, and see what steps you can take to get clear so you can actually be more efficient. Please don't throw in the towel if you have something that you're passionate about. And if you're interested in joining our business lab, We have very few slots, and we meet with people based on application to make sure it's a good fit. But if you're interested, you could go ahead and book a free consult. You'll get to watch a video, see the back end of my system. And I would love to support you in making your vision a reality. Or if you already have a vision, making your vision work so seamlessly so you can reach more people, make more impact, and feel so fulfilled. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.